Good morning, everybody. It's Peter here from Australian Jewellers Supplies, also representing our sister company in New Zealand, G&A Warburtons. Welcome once again to another online demo where we're taking you into a jeweller's workshop somewhere in Australasia. And this week we're going to Auckland and the sunny Maca Bernal. Maca, welcome on board.
Buenos dias, Peter. How are you? Good morning, everyone.
Buenos dias, Maca. Great to have you on board. This is your first demonstration with us. It's a delight to have you.
It is. I'm so excited.
Yes, and today the topic is working with resin. Would you like to start, before we get into that, just give us a little bit of a background about you and your work? What do you get up to day to day, Maca?
Well, I've been in New Zealand for 11 years. And before I came to New Zealand, I've been making jewelry since the age of 17. With an apprenticeship, and after that some further studies. And when I came to New Zealand, I realized that in this country I could actually get a job as a jeweler and start advancing my career with further studies and stuff. So for a while I've been developing my own art as well as teaching others and trying to be an active member of the jewelry community here in Auckland. And yeah, here we are. I appreciate the opportunity to show a little bit of what I can do, because I'd like to think that it's rather unusual.
Yes. So with resin, so how do you incorporate resin into your jewelry from time to time?
Most of the jewelry that I am well known for, that I commercialize here in New Zealand and in some international galleries, is made 100% from resin. And I've developed a technique which is really simple. I hate to use the word easy because it's easy. And everyone that has grabbed some lessons with me will know that I never use the word easy, but I do use the word simple, because we can simplify these things to an extent that everyone and anyone can use them. But that doesn't take away the level of complexity from it.
Indeed, yes. There's always an accident waiting to happen, isn't there?
Yeah, specifically with resin, because it's very moody. It kind of has a life of its own and a mind of its own, and it does what it wants to do on a daily basis, yeah. Well,
let's hope it's going to be well behaved today.
Let's hope so. It's a very humid day. I don't know if you guys know, but we've been having 93-94% humidity in the atmosphere here in Auckland, which is very unusual for this time of the year. And resin is specifically reactive to humidity in the air, to water, because it's its greatest enemy.
Okay, yeah. So there we are. I've just made you the highlight for everybody, so we can all see you. And you're
for the resin behaves well today.
I'm sure it will. Okay, so where do we start then, Maca? What are we going to get up to?
Right, so I'm going to show everyone this pendant that I've made. So I've been working on this pendant for the past few days, trying to make something that incorporates metal smithing as well as the use of resin, because 100% resin pieces are completely different, and you need a mold and you need all sorts of things to develop that kind of work. But in this case, I'm going to show everyone how to apply resin into a cavity that's already been made in a way that resembles old school enameling.
Okay.
So just because there is a curiosity from people that make jewelry to incorporate color into their work, but not necessarily cooking enamels, because we don't have a kiln or we don't have a torch that reaches that top level temperature. So this is a way to, in a nutshell, doing cold enameling.
Indeed, yes.
So I'm going to use fast curing resin today, which has got a very, very fast, swift curing time, and it's practical and it's very safe, and it's kind of, if you may, very user-friendly. There's a very small margin for mistake with this resin. You always have to be careful that your resin is the sort of resin that you need for the specific project, because there's many resins in the market.
Okay. And what are some of the specifics you're looking for the fast curing, or?
Yeah, I am looking for, just for the purpose of this video, to do something in very striking colors and very fast curing time. This is just to prove to people that working with resin can be very simple, very user-friendly, because it has a bad reputation. I'll be honest with you. I get that a lot in my practice. People are always talking about how resin exudes fumes that are bad for you and that you can't breathe them and you've got to wear all hazmat. This is for you guys to see that at a very small, delicate, it's got a very small, delicate place in your workshop. Obviously, if you're a metalsmith and you're working with really delicate tools and equipment and very small stones and materials, expensive materials like gold and platinum, you're thinking resin doesn't have a place in my workshop because it's messy and you know, stinky and sticky. But I'm here to prove to you that it can be done at a very small scale, very delicate, and you can incorporate it into your metalsmithing projects and create a product that is out there.
Oh, that's good. And safely.
Out the gate.
Yeah, and safely, okay.
Exactly, safely, because it's such small quantities. We're going to work with this teeny tiny cups, and we're just going to pour a teeny tiny bit. We're talking about spoonfuls of resin, so very safe.
Okay. And so do you need any protective equipment to handle this stuff?
I'm going to wear gloves.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear these awesome latex gloves that fit me really well. You've got to make sure that your gloves fit, because if they don't fit and they're loose on you, you will be making mistakes. So my workshop has very good ventilation at this moment. We have lots of airflow, which is very important if you're going to work with resin. If you don't have good ventilation in your workshop, I suggest crack open every single window, every single door, and put a fan in, so you're not exposed to the direct fumes, so that the fumes, as they go up, they just, you know, leave your space and you don't breathe them directly.
Okay. Rightio. So where are we starting with this piece today then, Maca?
Right. The general instructions to start with any piece of prefabricated sterling silver, 9-karat gold, whichever metal that you're working with, is to have polished it to a finished condition before applying the resin. The reason being is that resin doesn't like to be polished in the polishing machine. It doesn't like the RPMs. It's if the RPMs are going too fast, you literally are heating up the resin, and everybody knows what happens when you heat up plastic. It burns, it melts, and it's not pretty. Some people ask me if it could be cool to apply a little bit of heat or a little bit, and what happens is it just goes black, it goes brown, burns and melts and bubbles. So not pretty.
Okay. Yeah, not the effect we're looking for.
Not at all. So your piece needs to be finished, absolutely finished, stamped, hallmarked, tumbled or hand polished, or matte surface, satin, whichever the desired finish you want needs to be done before the application of resin.
Okay.
The only other thing that I want to show is that the inside surface needs to be rough. If you can see from this video, I've roughened it up with a little bristle brush, with a little wire brush.
Okay.
It's important
just to give the resin something to key into.
Exactly. You need a little bit of that grit. If you can shove in some really coarse sandpaper or something, just don't, you know, if you're going to tumble it, for example, if it comes out of the tumbler and you apply resin straight onto it and it's a very lustrous, shiny surface, it might come off.
No worries. Okay, well, focus on your work area there.
How's that?
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got 2 little cups of just clear plastic cups, and we've got some mixers, and we've got some pigments, very striking colors. So this is just to show you that the application of neons, for example, which is quite fashionable right now, is completely possible through these pigments and these resins. A couple of toothpicks just in case. The other thing that I'm going to use is a Vivid, a lighter. This is a $2 shop lighter, which is a little bit more than just a lighter. It's like a creme brulee chef lighter.
Okay.
Yes, and toothpicks, and that's it.
No worries. Just before you go ahead, Shannon's just commented, interesting, you can't polish. So,
Resin.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. There are certain kinds of resin that you can polish. It's this specific resin that I'm using today, which is not good for polishing. And arguably, the best thing to polish some of the harder types of resin is car polish.
Okay. Mm.
So if anyone is interested in taking their resin practice to a higher level and achieving that high gloss in some of those clear pieces that we make, that's what I suggest, buffing them with car polish.
No problem. Okay, well, let's get into this one.
Right. So this is the piece that I am enameling, or in this case, resining.
Yes.
And I'm going to pour myself a cup of A and a cup of B. It's very important that you label your cups, because the resin products are very similar sometimes. Give it a light shake. So I'm using a very specific type of resin today. And that's all I'm going to pour, if you can see.
Yep. So how do you measure that?
Tiniest amount. The cup has a line, a groove.
Yep.
So that very first ridge.
And it's 1 for 1, is it?
1 for 1. That's the beauty of the simple, easy to use resin. If you were using a little bit more of a complex product, you wouldn't be able to do this with such simplicity. And I've only got a little bit left. That's all I need. So the cup A and the cup B are relatively the same. I need a little bit more B. This is the kind of resin that you can eyeball. Other resins, you will have to use your measuring scales. This is a very forgiving A to B ratio kind of resin. There you go. That's your A and your B. This specific resin also has a different color between the A and the B. The A is yellowish and the B is quite clear. So it is a little bit more forgiving. You are able to differentiate them. But in other types of resin, you will find that the A and the B are completely the same. And if you haven't labeled your cups, you're in trouble. Right. Next step is to pigment. I'm using these very, very striking color pigments, and I'm going to use a mixture of both. When it comes to pigments and resin, it's quite an interesting fact that not all of them are compatible. And people say to me, oh my God, I've used some color dye and it didn't work. Yeah, exactly. Not all pigments work with resin. Now, question to everyone out there, or to you, Peter.
Yes.
Which of these two cups do you think that the pigment will go into, A or B?
Well, I would have thought maybe the one on your right, which is
A or B?
B.
B.
Yeah.
Reason being, it's clear.
Yep.
It's colorless. If I apply color into this, it'll kind of throw me out. It won't throw me the true color. Or if I mix it into B, it'll show me exactly the tone that I want.
That was my thinking exactly.
That's exactly right. So how much pigment do I use?
Well, that's another question.
That's another question. That was 2 drops. There is such a thing as too much pigment. One must realize that the ratio is 50-50. So if I put too much pigment on the bee, I'm throwing the ratio out.
Okay. Yep.
So for example, I've just done 2 drops. Now I'm going to mix it through. And it's a very personal taste thing here. You can saturate the color by putting in another 2 drops. So that makes 4. And they're generous drops. They're not little teeny tiny drops. So I'm up to 4 drops in this little cup. And I don't think that this teeny tiny amount of resin can take any more pigment.
Okay, and that's the experience that's probably taught you that.
That's experience. Because what happens with too much pigment in a specific amount of resin is it just doesn't cure. It stays soft, tacky, and it just never cures. And
okay.
That's how we create debris or leftover in our practice, and we don't want that. We want to use this plastic wisely. We want to create pieces, bring more pieces of plastic into the world that are going to be used, not that are going to be thrown away.
Indeed.
So mix this thoroughly. And when I say thoroughly, I just mean mix it. You know, people ask me all the time, how do I know when it's thoroughly mixed? Well, is it? Just have a look at the cup. Your cup is clear. Have a look at the sides, scrape the sides with the little mixer, make sure that there are no lumps of color, big lumps of color in those pesky little grooves on the bottom of the cup. Okay. Use your mixer and scrape the sides. Make sure that you mix on one direction, then on the opposite direction. And when you know that you've mixed thoroughly, there's one color and one color only. No streaks, no drops, no oil marks, nothing left in the cup, just like a solid block color.
Yeah. If it turns into butter, you've gone too far.
Too far. Yeah. One little detail that I'm going to add today is a drop of this amazing fluorescent color.
Ah, what's that going to do to it?
Glow in the dark. Some pigments in this kind of tonality do glow in the dark, but not this one. This is just going to break my red and turn me into a little bit more of an orange tone. Did it? So mix it thoroughly. And the color is now changed. I don't know that it's very, very visible on the screen, but I can see it now. It's turned into some sort of electric orange color. Now, this resin that I'm using now is white-based, which means I have to imagine this pigment mixed in with a dollop of white.
Okay. So
I'm not going to get exactly this tone that's in the cup now. I'm going to get this tone plus white. And that's because I'm using a fast curing resin, which is white-based. If I was using a clear resin, I would get exactly the same color that's in the cup now, but it would take more than 24 hours to cure.
Right. There's always a compromise, isn't it?
There's always a compromise. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to use the easy, the simpler kind of cast resin. Right, so I've got my cup of A and my cup of B. So in order for me to be more effective in my practice and just make good use of my materials and not pollute the environment more than we already have, I am going to only pour the A into the B cup, and I'm going to preserve my A for further casts.
Okay.
This way, the A cup doesn't get contaminated with B or with pigment, and I can easily reuse this cup.
Right, gotcha.
A into B. Once A goes into B, I'm going to count 15 seconds. I think today would be a good thing. The most I would, suggest people to count is up to 30 seconds. So when we're in a workshop, I always say to people, count inside your head. Don't count out loud because you're going to confuse everyone in the room. I'm going to count out loud for all of you, but it's important that you count, because if you don't count, you lose track of time. And this resin cures very fast, and it will cure in your cup before you pour if you're too late. We want it to be at its most liquid state, not quite viscous at the moment of pouring.
Okay.
I'm going to set this up here before I do that.
So we'll watch you on the bench then, shall we?
You can watch the piece. Can you see the piece here?
We can, yep.
Pendant on the little platform.
Yep.
Move it out to the center. So I'm going to pour in there. So I'm going to do the mixing right there on the side, the pouring. Once A contacts B, you only have 15 seconds. I think today is one of those 15 seconds kind of day because it's so humid. Going in.
Yep.
Every single last drop. If you have an extra mixer available, make sure you scrape that cup. You need a 50-50 ratio mix. If you leave a whole scoop of A behind, it's not a 50-50. And you mix for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I make sure that I reach in those crevices, go one side, the opposite side, mixing vigorously, not enough to create too many bubbles or any foam in this mix, but vigorously. Now I can feel in my cup the heat. I can feel in my hand, it's starting to react. So I'm done, and I start my pouring. Very gently, from very close by. You can't be at a big distance, and you just pour. Very gently, drop by drop. You don't want to go above the edge. You want to be right there on the edge. Beautiful. Look at that little bubble that's sitting on top.
What's going to happen to that?
It's just the chemical reaction. I'm just going to burst it. So obviously we're getting heat, a very small chemical reaction inside the resin happening now, which is, it's all just temperature. So with this little torch from a very far distance, I can get rid of superficial bubbles if I have any. This is specifically good for clear resins. For matte resins, only if I can see the bubbles, because I could see them, and at a very far distance. I'm just trying to heat up the atmosphere around it rather than heat the piece in particular.
Yep.
Right. And so I hope that we can see the change of color and the chemical reaction happening on camera.
So it's getting more and more solid, the color?
Right. The A plus B reacts in a chemical reaction that is exodermic, so it releases temperature, and the curing process begins from the center out. So the chemical reaction and the change of color you will see starts from the very center of the piece, and it just starts spreading out onto the edges. Hopefully it's very visible. I've chosen a color which is quite, there's a lot of color of strong pigmenting in there, but it should work. And by the way, the leftover in my cup, already solid.
Yeah. Your 15 seconds is up.
And very hot. This is what people need to know.
Yeah.
Very, very warm in the cup. So something else that's worth noting when it comes to working with resin is that the temperature the fact that it has temperature, that it releases temperature, is because of volume. So the bigger your piece, the more concentration of resin, the faster the reaction. The smaller your piece, the less heat it produces. So it actually takes a lot longer. That's why it cured really fast in the cup and a little slower in the piece.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh my God, I've made a mistake. It's cured in the cup and it hasn't cured in the piece. There's no mistake there. It just takes longer.
So this essentially is a 5-minute curing process, do you believe?
I want to say today it could be a little less than 5, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It is a warm day, and it will depend on the warmth of the temperature of the day. Summer is always, dry air, lots of heat, and the temperature is enhanced. The chemical reaction is enhanced by the temperature of the atmosphere. And in a very cold day, on the complete opposite, you might want to rush things up by, for example, putting a heat lamp onto your pieces so they cure faster. Now, test the fire. Still tacky. Did you see
how
that?
dangerous was doing that?
You got to have big ovaries, yeah.
Because you don't want to scar it.
You don't want to scar it, but I was right on time.
Okay.
One of the most adorable, cutest properties of resin is that it is self-settling.
Okay.
And I say it's cute because you just see it rise if you put your tool in there or your little toothpick, and you see it rise into a little peak, and you go, oh my God, and then it just slowly settles down. Don't let it be. If you poke it and pinch it too much, obviously you're going to get problems on the surface. But if you're just being very gentle with it and you let go, it will self-settle. Don't push it in, don't put oil on it or anything funny like some people have told me that they do. Just let it be. I think I can see the color difference between the center and the sides, but the reaction is being really slow. Yeah. It's probably. So
just while we're waiting for that, Maca, I'll put you on the spot here. You don't happen to have some other finished pieces handy, do you?
I do.
Oh, well done. Sure.
I thought today could be a good day to bring
Show
them
and tell.
Yeah, because I'm going to take my gloves off. Because it's a technique that I've been trying to work with for a second. I've made myself this pair of earrings, which are, again, the same story, but this time with clear resin and glitter.
Yeah.
So no one can tell me that there isn't such thing as too much glitter. This goes into my ultra glitter range, and all that it is a pre-made case of wonky crosses made with big studs. And you make the box, or you pre-make the box, you tumble it, you polish it, you get it to whatever finish you want, and then you just fill it up with clear resin and glitter.
Looks great.
The best thing about resin in the shape of earrings, particularly, Peter, is the weight.
Okay, because it's light, so therefore you can have a large piece of jewellery. And
I can wear this pair of earrings all day without them bothering me. They are large, but they're
because when I saw them, I thought, wow, they're large, and you think, oh, they're going to be heavy, but they're as light as anything, aren't they?
They are. I could weigh them for you, but just take me for a guinea pig. I love wearing large earrings, but most of the times I just buy them because I think they're amazing, and I always invest in my fellow artists' jewelry and buy these amazing earrings, and then end up taking them off because they're so heavy. So I took it as a personal challenge to make large earrings with lots of color that would be light enough to wear. Now have a look at the piece. Okay. Look at the color effect. It's very visible.
Flip back there.
See how it's changing? You can bring it.
So it looks whiter on the inside.
It looks whiter on the inside, and the color is a lot brighter on the outside. So what we're doing, the temperature is rising from the center outwards. Yeah. And we've got to wait until the color is completely uniform to call it cured.
Okay. No worries.
It's a shame that the camera is not showing how fluorescent that color is, because it does have quite a bit of yeah, you know, of this kind of effect, this luminescence that these lovely pigments have.
It might be just the angle, but anyway.
It's probably just the light in the room, but I can also show later photos, sort of more close-up photos on the Instagram, or we can share them on the website. So yeah, it's a neon tone.
Maca, you've got a big fan in Shannon by the sound of it. She's asking, what are the earring settings made of, please?
Hi, Sharon. Awesome.
Shannon.
Shannon, sorry.
Yes.
Let me show you up closer. It's all sterling silver. I hope that this is a good rendition. Yeah, they are signed and stamped here somewhere at the bottom. But yeah, they're sterling silver. If you use very thin metal, I don't know, it probably is like a 0.5 wall, and you back it up really nicely. Your seams have to have no holes, no escape holes. Because the resin is going to be liquid. So any little piece that any little hole or cavity that you leave behind, that's where the resin's going to want to go and escape.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Now, Shannon has also commented that she'd like to have a chat later about a piece that she's been commissioned to do.
Fabulous.
So, Shannon, I've shared Maca's social details in the post. So you might just want to send her a message through there, and I'm sure Maca will be pleased to talk to you.
Absolutely. So I've just had a feel of the piece, and it's still a little bit tacky. It's still a little bit viscous. So we're not going to handle it too much.
We don't want a fingerprint on top of it.
We don't. I've got one more tip to give you guys. And it is the lamp. So what I've done with this lamp is I've put a generic heat bulb in it. Okay. That's the kind of bulb that you would get at the hardware shop, at your Mitre 10 or wherever. It's the kind of bulb that you put on bathroom roofs to heat you when you come out of the shower.
Yep.
Nothing too fancy. And I carry this lamp with me to all the workshops that I do outside of my studio because it's just so handy. Don't need UV for this. We don't need UV. We just need heat, which is different. And you don't want to put it too close. Let me give you a show of this. You don't want to put it up too close. You just want to direct it towards the piece at a very good distance. Give yourself 15, 20 centimeters between your piece and the lamp. So don't cook it. Don't burn it. Just gently, gently heat it.
So we can't see anything at the moment. It's just all white.
Oh my gosh. Is it the lamp?
Yeah, the light is so bright, it just turned everything white. Yeah.
Maybe that's better.
No, that's okay. You let it do its job.
We don't need to use it. It was just to show you guys what I do in order to rush the process. It's just because some people tend to say, oh, it's taking too long. How do I? And they get a little bit sort of anxious about if it's going to work or is it's not going to work. The best way to rush the process, if you need to rush the process, is with a heat lamp. Now, if it takes 5 minutes to cure, who needs to rush that?
Indeed, yes.
Only 5 minutes, right? Now, fully cured.
Is it?
Yes. Let me show everyone on this camera how it is solid and one color block. And I can touch it on the surface without damaging it. Can that be seen?
So perhaps take it up to your laptop there.
That's better. Fully solid.
Now, what color would you describe that as? It looks a bit tangerine-ish or something.
Yes, it's something like a light neon tangerine. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're pleased with that?
I am very much so. As a matter of fact, I've made this piece for myself.
So
It's
you can
funny,
wear
but
it.
you never make jewelry for yourself. I never have the time to make jewelry for myself.
Hmm.
There we go. I've got one of these multi-use carabiners
Yeah.
and a chunky chain, which is all you need. And there it is.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I'm wearing my apron, my leather apron today. But yeah, you can see the volume is now under one surface. You can see on the side, it doesn't stick out at all.
Yep.
It does resemble the old school look of enamel when you think of those Cartier pieces with a lot of green and a lot of gold that are not emerald or are not marcasite or malachite, but are enameled. You can achieve lots of those sort of costumey, old-fashioned, fashion brand jewelry look with resin.
No, indeed. That's fantastic. And it's great to have a result so quickly, which is wonderful. Now,
In
if
an
you were
era
doing,
where in an era where people are more and more impatient, yes, absolutely.
now, say they were a pair of earrings you were doing, you'd obviously pour them both earrings at the same time to with the colour in mind, because you wouldn't want to risk having odd colours. But
Unless that's part of your practice,
well, that's right.
I would suggest you pour, if you want results where the both earrings look exactly the same, you've got to mix and pour at the same time. But if what you're looking for, or you're open to doing a mismatched pair of earrings, then by all means do them separately.
Indeed. And well, you don't mind being a little bit odd because you've obviously mismatched your cross there. The cross doesn't go exactly across.
Exactly. Yes, yeah. That's the fun part of it.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of personality in it, that's for sure. Yeah.
Otherwise, what would make my jewelry different to all the other amazing products in the world?
Indeed. Well, that's right. You've got to be different. So, yeah, Fiona's asked, does AJS stock that product? We have a product called Enamel, Fiona, so you could investigate that with your local AJS showroom.
Yes.
And if there's any other comments or questions from our viewers, please come forth. That would be great to hear from you.
Yes, about your product Enamel, the only thing that I can comment on that is that it is UV cured, so you'll need a UV lamp. Instead of my lamp that I showed you, a heat lamp, you will need a UV curing lamp. So the result is a lot firmer. It's a completely a different kind of resin, which resembles glass.
Yeah, indeed. And
whereas this one that I've used here resembles plastic.
Yeah, and we sell the lamps for in the mid $20. So yeah, they're
That's
available.
right. It's a very cost-effective way to add color to your jewelry.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we might wrap it up there, Maca. You've done a great job in demonstrating how you can use resin in your jewelry to add that splash of color.
Yes,
that looks
or
very
glitter.
dynamic. Or glitter. Yes, yes. So hopefully it's made other people think about how they can enhance their jewelry with using the same process. So thank you very much for your contribution today. And we'll look forward to having you and our viewers back again real soon.
You're welcome. I hope I've inspired people out there to do a little bit different and, do a little bit of a different detail on their products, on their creations, because it doesn't take much.
Indeed. No, thank you. Thank you, Daphne said thank you, very nice. Thanks, Fiona, for your comments, and also to Shannon and to all the others who are watching as well. So we'll look forward to seeing you sometime in the future, Maca.
Buenas tardes. Thank you.
Yeah, whatever she said, I said as well.
Good afternoon.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Peter. Bye.